webinar is about the gvSIG Desktop 2.0. The webinar will discuss the newest release of gvSIG, focusing on a comparison between these and the previous versions, as well as detailing the software developments planned for the next months. The speakers will be Shane and Mario. Mario Carrera is the Language and Communication Manager at gvSIG Project and gvSIG Association. And Shane is an extension specialist in geospatial technologies in the University of New Hampshire. Now I'm going to switch to Mario computer and after them to Shane computer, and I will come back in the question and answer session. Well, Mario, now I'm switching to your computer. We can hear. We can see your screen. Yes, we can hear your screen now. We can see your screen.
Yeah. Okay. Hi all. Good afternoon from Spain. First of all, I would like to thank to Mundo Geo for offering us their platform to spread gvSIG and show you gvSIG. We're going to speak about about what's new in gvSIG Desktop 2, the last version of gvSIG. It's a new version. What are the novelties in gvSIG? If you install the latest version of the gvSIG 1 branch, the 1.12 version, and gvSIG 2, you can see that there aren't a lot of main differences. Almost all the menus and the toolbars are the same, and also the views are similar. It's in a user level, but there are some differences. We can see here that there are some functionalities in gvSIG 1.12, like the PyMR chart legends and other ones that aren't in gvSIG 2 at this moment. And there are new functionalities in gvSIG 2 that there weren't in gvSIG 1. So at this moment, it can be a little bit confusing for the users, but because there are some functionalities only in gvSIG 1, other ones only in gvSIG 2, and there are some functionalities in both versions. So in the next months, most of the most used functionalities of gvSIG 1.12 will be migrated depending on the resources. But the main novelty in gvSIG 2 is in the area of the development tools. We can say that gvSIG 2 has a new engine. gvSIG was born to cover the needs of the users in a regional government, and it grew a lot in a few years, in the following years, and now it's used in a lot of entities around the world. So it's very different from the first version and now. The architecture of the gvSIG 1 version was composed of big pieces, and any change entails impact. If a functionality was included in gvSIG, it could affect other parts of the source code. And also when an error was fixed, another errors could appear in other parts of the code. So it was very important to change this part. The architecture of gvSIG 2 is composed by small pieces, and you can develop a new application, a new extension, or fix an error, and it doesn't affect the other parts. The core, the gvSIG core, is a small piece of gvSIG, so it's very easy to develop new applications, for example. What are the main advantages of this architecture? There's less impact in gvSIG 2. The development time is decreased, so the cost is reduced. The new versions can be released frequently. It's easy, and it's easy to develop new applications and fix the bugs. The new applications can be developed from the pieces of gvSIG. For example, we could use some gvSIG pieces to develop a geoportal, like you can see in the as you can see in the first picture, and in the other one, for example, an application about space management. Other important example is the gvSIG Educa application. That is a personalization of gvSIG for education. The main novelty, one of the main novelties, is the new installer. With the new installer, the user can select the typical or the customized installation. So the user can control what plugins, extensions he wants to install. To do this, the user can use when the user installs gvSIG, he can see the Add-ons manager, where he can select the plugins to install. This Add-ons manager is also available from gvSIG. When gvSIG is running, the user can access to the Add-ons manager, and he can install not only new functionalities, but also symbol libraries, and in the future, scripts, translations, layout templates, etc. Another possibility in the Add-ons manager is to connect to different servers. So in the future, there will be non-official servers with several extensions, and the users will be able to access to these servers. And another important theme is that we don't have to wait for a new version to install the new plugins. About interface and usability, there has been some changes in the interface of the data management tools. For example, for importing and exporting files, or table operations, or the window for adding new layers. And about usability, one of the main improvements is, for example, that in gvSIG 1, the user had to select the driver of the file to add in gvSIG, but now there's an option to see all the supported data formats in gvSIG. So it's better than in gvSIG 1. Another improvements in data display is that one important improvement is that the user can work on the application while a layer is loading. The user don't have to wait for the finishing of the loading to continue working. Another improvement is the gvSIG 2 includes the webmap tile service support. It's like webmap service, but a little bit differences. A few differences. For example, it manages the layers, but with tiles. And another improvement is the raster data cache. There are some improvements for viewing raster data. Another interesting functionality now is the time as a coordinate, the 4D. This is known like NetCDF for vector and raster data, and it's a format for scientific data that supports multi-temporal data. So now we have a new temporal filter tool in gvSIG, and we also can generate animations. At this moment, only for vector data. About scripting, in gvSIG 1 there was a scripting model, but it has been improved now. gvSIG is developed on Java. Java is a difficult programming language, and with the scripting extension in gvSIG, the user can use Python. Python is easy to learn, it is open source, multi-platform, and it's stable. At this moment, only scripting for vector layers is available, but the raster scripting for raster layers will be available soon. And in the future, there will be a repository where the community, the gvSIG community, can upload their own scripts, and they can be downloaded for the other users. About symbology, there's a very interesting tool. Now the user can import point symbols from their computers to gvSIG. They can create their own symbol libraries. These symbol libraries can be exported to a file, and it can be loaded by the other users directly from the Add-ons manager of gvSIG. In the last months, we have published some symbol libraries. If you go to the gvSIG blog, you can search by symbology, and here you can see different symbols libraries that have been included in gvSIG. You can load these symbol libraries from the Add-ons manager in gvSIG 2. About geoprocessing, now in gvSIG 2, it includes a unified geoprocessing interface where you can access the tools for vector layers, in the future also for raster layers. You have available the algorithms, the ex-ante algorithms, and in the future there will be algorithms from Saga, Grass, or Python scripts, among others. About PostGIS raster, it's included in gvSIG 2 now. This PostGIS raster was called WKP raster, and it takes advantage of the database manager system characteristics. For example, the SQL support for spatial queries, data centralization, client-server architecture for simultaneous access, etc. About the metadata, there will be a metadata extension where the user will be able to create, edit, or export the metadata, and he will be able to generate metadata profiles too. For finishing, another improvements in this version is the table in the layouts. For example, the info by point tool for raster layer. It was only for vector layer. The info by point, and new version of the OGC formats. And several extensions will be included. For example, normalization, geocoding, sensors, or the thematic maps. This extension is from gvSIG, the product gvSIG Educa, gvSIG Patobi from Uruguay. It's a product it's a gvSIG for education, where the users can interchange their maps. The current version is gvSIG 2.0, but in the next days there will be a gvSIG 2.1. This version will include some functionalities that were released after the final gvSIG 2, like the map sheets, graph document, thematic maps from gvSIG Educa, or OpenStreetMap. And another new functionalities that most of them have been migrated from gvSIG 1 are georeferencing, new legends, advanced labeling, event layer, and others. To summarize, we can say that we have laid the foundation for the future of gvSIG. With this version, we can say that. And you can ask for your questions on the chat. Manuel will answer you the questions. And now Shane is going to show you some functionalities of gvSIG 2.
Functions.
Eduardo?
Okay.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, Shane, we can hear you.
In order to show off some of the functions, good. Oh, no problem. In order to SIG 2.0, we have put together a few videos. These were similar videos that were used in the version of this webinar that was given in Spanish. So the first one is to look a little bit at the add-on manager, which Mario spoke about. Also the WMTS and raster tile caching, which are great ways to speed up the display of raster imagery. We're also going to look at how the settings in the temporal filter work, show how to create a symbol library and share that symbol library, and go into a little detail of the scripting environment. So as far as the add-on manager is concerned, this is a great day, I think, for gvSIG to have this. It makes the software much more useful. And as you can see here, there are 3 different options you have. The standard installation, which will contain all of the add-ons you get with the standard gvSIG distribution. So if you just install the standard installer, that's what you will get. You can also install from a file, that allows you to add on anything that you might have created yourself, or we'll see this in the future when you have symbol packages that somebody sent to you. This is how you can add them on. Or you can install from a URL, including some of the things that the gvSIG group may have themselves or other groups as well. And of course, part of the benefits of having this installation from a URL option or from a file is that, as Mario mentioned, you don't have to wait for the newest version of gvSIG in order to get additional functionality. So if there are new things, new add-ons, new tools, and as we mentioned, new symbol libraries that you or other people have developed, this is a way to get them into your system without having to wait for version 2.1 or whatever the next version of the software may be. So if you're going to choose to install from a URL, and this is the demonstration on this video, you can see that there are a whole bunch that are built in. And once you choose the one that you want, you can go ahead and click Next. Now what you can see here in this big list is a couple of things. Let me slow it down for 1 second. Over here, these green and white boxes show you whether or not something is installed. These yellow stars show you whether or not it's something that's official. And over here in this column, I missed it a little bit. It shows you if there are certain things that require either Linux or Windows. Now, a good thing about this installation package is that you can do fast filtering simply by typing. Another thing you can do, which I don't think we show in this video over here, is that they've broken the packages and the tools into various categories. So if you're just interested in databases or formats or geoprocessing, you can click on those categories and it will filter the list. But up here, using the demonstration, the fast filter, just type for what you're looking for and it can be found. If you click on the name, down below there will be a description, and in order to install it, go ahead and check the box and click on Next. There will be a couple of warnings or notifications depending on how you have things set, and click on Start Download. So since this is connecting to our URL, it will download and install the software. Now, except for in the case of symbol libraries, which is something we'll explore in the future, all of these additional add-ons require that gvSIG is restarted before they are displayed. So simply go ahead, exit gvSIG, and then wait for gvSIG to reboot. I think I can just fast forward this through. And once gvSIG reboots, the new tool will be available. Of course, sometimes figuring out exactly where the tool is going to be is half the fun. It might take you a bit. But once this reboots, you can see that this new geocoding tool has been added once you create a map. And in this case, it's in the layer dialog box, I believe, all the way on the right. So it's very quick and easy to add additional functionality, to manage functionality, and I think that this is an awesome advancement for gvSIG. So in this next video, we're going to look at WMTS support. Now, this may be the first time some of you are hearing about WMTS. It is a new version, or I guess an updated idea along the lines of WMS services, or WMS. You can see that there's a new tab here on the Add Layer dialog box. And the big difference between WMTS and WMS is that WMTS is based on a tile caching system, really with an eye to getting around the general slowness of a lot of WMS services. Now, keep in mind that there's not a lot of WMTS instances out there. There are some, there's not a lot, but this is a very forward-looking idea to have this built into the software, because this is definitely a direction that a lot of services will hopefully be going in the future, and it is OGC compliant as well. So if you go ahead and add in a WMTS, it's very similar, of course, to adding in a WMS. And the thing that you'll notice the most, of course, when you're using something like a WMTS, we're going to look at some imagery here, is that the speed should be very, very different. Now, this is not necessarily a completely foreign concept to a lot of people, the tile caching, but this is a new format for doing it, and hopefully one that will be embraced. Now, if you've ever spent time using WMS services, you're probably used to waiting around for things to redraw. And also notice, by using this tool that gvSIG has, you might have missed that selection, but it was up here, it allows you to zoom directly to the raster scale of the tiles, which should make the drawing faster and should also make the imagery look better on your screen as well. So I'm not sure if any of you out there have access or have been using WMTS services, but I think we'd all appreciate having our imagery that's stored remotely be displayed this quickly. Now, sort of along similar lines as of this idea, the WMTS, gvSIG has also instituted a tile caching system for all raster imagery, or WMS even imagery. Any imagery that's stored locally or that's stored that you're accessing across the network can have local tiles stored. So why would you do this? Well, for the same reason that a WMTS is faster, this will be much faster, especially when you're using WMS connection. So once you've been to a location, gvSIG will create tiles even if the imagery itself doesn't have these tiles pre-created, which of course I think is a very important point. We'll store the tiles locally, and then when you come back to that place, it'll just be drawing that tile from the local storage as opposed to having to go and retrieve it. So any raster data can be accelerated in this way. And we have one example here looking at a WMS connection of imagery. And as you move the map, you probably have all experienced that nice waiting of the white field until the imagery redraws. And this will depend both on your computer speed, of course, but also on your speed of network connection and the speed of the server on the other end. But instead, if you use the gvSIG local tile caching, which is what we'll see here in a moment, that same imagery, even though it's being stored on a WMS, as you use it more and more, will create local caches. And these tiles will be cached on your computer so that you don't have to go back and access them again. So instead of having to wait for them to be retrieved, you'll just have to wait briefly as the computer redraws it based on those local tiles. So these are both ideas showing the advancements of raster imagery and raster data management, which I think greatly improves the use of the software. So in this next section, we're going to look at temporal filters, I believe. And as Mario mentioned, the idea behind temporal filters are being able to control or examine imagery or vectors that have time-enabled data. Now, the type of data that's supported, as Mario mentioned, is the net CDF, so it has to be in a specific format. And of course, there need to be attributes that have time or date data stored in the attribute table. Now, once you've added something to the software that has this type of data and you'd like to explore the temporal variability, you can use that with this new tool. So in this example, here is a series of lines that were points that were taken over time, and each of these points has a different timestamp. Of course, when you look at them all at once, they look like a line, but this is really just a series of points. So if you look at the attribute table, we'll bring this up a bit more, you can see that there are, in fact, time date stamp, and I think this is both in here. As you can see, the time offset. And in order to utilize this, you go ahead and open up the temporal, the time management system. Now, one of the things that you might like to do is to be able to control the interval of time that's being displayed. Another thing that you might like to be able to do is show data that's just at one specific time point along the path. So if you go to View, Add Temporal Filter, it opens up this dialog box, and as you can see, there are a couple of different options here. One, of course, is just none. The second is interval, and the third is instant. So there are two ways to set the interval for the temporal filter, one by typing in or changing the dates both in the start and end date, but probably more interestingly, there's slider bars with little arrows that you can use to define the time interval in which you'd like to view the data. Another thing that you'll see as these are adjusted is the data display on the screen changes real time to show you what information are available in that time frame. Now, in this case, you can change from the front, you can change from the back, and you can also view in one specific time point by clicking on Instant. And in this case, it will be one point at a time since each point was captured at a different time point. So as Mario mentioned, this is really that quote-unquote fourth dimension that allows you to bring temporal data in. Your data have to be formatted appropriately, but once they are, it allows you to explore them in a way that you couldn't previously do with gvSIG. Now, these next two videos will be talking about how you create your own symbols and also how you share your own symbols. We start out here just looking at the basic gvSIG symbol library that's installed by default, which has quite a few different symbols on it. But many people like to be able to add their own, create their own symbols, and if you do a good job, either for your friends or for even people in your own organization, would like to share them. So first we're going to talk about importing. You can select images. One of the open icon libraries that we're talking about here is transportation. You can, of course, create these on your own, or there are many sets of symbology out there that you can grab and import. Keep in mind that these are SVG files so that they scale appropriately. If you use rasters or bitmaps and bring them in, keep in mind as you make your images bigger or your symbology bigger, it might not look quite as good. So in this case, we're adding this set of transportation symbology to our gvSIG installation. Now you create a folder name to store these symbols so they will be easily findable on your computer and in gvSIG. And you import them. Now remember, there's no reason to restart your computer at this point or gvSIG, and as you go back right away to that same symbol browser, you can see that those transportation symbols have been added in. And because of the folder you created, they're in a specific place that you can anticipate. In addition, here's just a second example of importing. And in this case, we're going to import some examples of tourism symbology. Again, same thing. We're going to create a folder name. Since that folder already exists, you can just click on it to select it. And click on Import, and those symbols are imported directly into your library. So it's very quick, very easy to add information or add symbology in. You have a lot of control of how it's going to be organized and displayed. And this gives a lot more flexibility in the types of maps that we can make. Now, if you've gone ahead and you've added some data in or added symbology in, you might want to share that with other people. And as I said, this could be useful just to share with anybody in the gvSIG community, or it could be something you're working on a project with people in your organization and you have some symbols that you'd like everybody to use. All you have to do is go to Symbol, and we're just reviewing to see the different symbols that we have in here that we just added in. And we need to create a package to get this out of the software on our computer and share it with someone else. So if you click on Symbols, Create Package, and we're going to use that open icon that we just did. There's a lot of different settings you could choose here, and of course if you're sharing this with a broad community of people, you probably would want to fill that information in. If you're just sharing it with somebody local, you may not want to. And you pick the place on your computer where you'd like it to be stored, and this creates a symbology package. Now this symbology package can be accessed on your data on your own computer, and just to show you what it's like to add it in, we're actually deleting the one that's currently in there. So when we open up look at our symbology again, you'll see that we don't have those newly added symbols in there. This can be very easily just stored on your hard drive, or it can be sent to somebody else. When you get a symbology package from somebody, you can go to this add-in manager again. Remember, we talked about this before. In our demonstration, we looked at installing from a URL. In this case, we'll be installing from a file instead. And go ahead and find the location of that file and add it in. And of course, this is the process that somebody else would do if they were getting the symbol package from you. Scroll down and find it. That's that open icon. And notice, just a quick word about metadata. Underneath here, we don't have any information about that, what is in that open icon set. Excuse me. And if you're going to share these more broadly, it probably would be a good idea to spend a little time marking up that metadata section. In this case, we're not that interested about that. We can check the box, click on Next. Again, you'll get a couple of warning dialog boxes, which we won't worry about here. And you click on Finish. And even though it says you have to restart, in the case of symbols, you do not. So those are those new symbols that are available in your gvSIG. Again, that you could have created and stored, or you could have sent to somebody else, or you could have gotten from somebody else. All right. The very last thing we're going to look at is the scripting situation. Now, one we're going to use as an example is one of the scripts that come built into gvSIG when you install the scripting add-on. And we're going to use a script to determine what the maximum and minimum elevation in this data set are. Now, as we all know, scripting can be a very important addition to any sort of software package. We can have, there's various tools involved here. We have a launcher where we can see all of the different scripts that have been loaded. And of course, if you have scripting capability yourself, you know how to write them, that's great. If you don't, you can simply run scripts that other people have given to you. And if you do have enough knowledge to use scripting, you can look in the scripting composer and examine any of the scripts that were given to you, or of course you could write your own scripts. Now the scripting screen will show whatever script you indicate, and it will also show commented versions of this where you can, again, edit if you choose to, or you don't necessarily have to if you don't know what you're doing. And this will allow you to run whatever script it is. And in case this script is looking for an elevation field to act upon. So remember, whenever using scripts, sometimes your data have to be in a specific format or with specific attributes in order for that script to work. So if we go ahead and we run this script, it will provide for us the minimum and maximum elevation. Now this is a fairly simple script, but again, this shows you the capability, and as Mario mentioned, having the ability to have Python included, again, I think is a big advancement since this is such a commonly used language for GIS processing. Okay. So as far as the videos go, that's all that I have. I think we'll be moving on to the questions section at this point. So Eduardo, do you want to pass it over to Mario, or how are we handling this part of the webinar?
Eduardo?
Hello, Mario?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So there are some questions. Are there some questions here? Eduardo?
Yes, Mario, actually most of the questions were already answered by chat.
Yes.
I don't know if you have any comment to make about the presentation, about where people can find more information about gvSIG 2.0. I think this
Yes.
would be great if you can talk about this.
Yes. It's my desktop now?
Yes.
Can you see? Okay. So from gvSIG.org, you have the, in English, you have the gvSIG website, and there are several sections. You have the direct access to the gvSIG 2 version. In this moment, gvSIG 2.0, but in the following days, it will be the gvSIG 1. Here you can see the downloads of the versions from different servers for Linux and Windows. And here you can see the main differences that we have spoken about in the webinar. There are still some differences between gvSIG 1.12 and gvSIG 2, and here you can see the main comments. There are also documentation for gvSIG. There are several. If you access to the user documents section and learning, there are several tutorials in English that you can see here in this part. gvSIG mobile tutorials and gvSIG desktop ones. And another interesting section is the from gvSIG 2 also. We have tour and video section. So here you can see the videos of the application for the different parts of gvSIG. gvSIG 3D, raster, layout, etc. And one of the questions was about the Facebook or Twitter of gvSIG. From the website, here you at the right side, you have direct access to the different links. You have the gvSIG Facebook, the gvSIG videos in YouTube, etc. So here the Twitter. So here you have the main links about gvSIG social. And another interesting website is about, from here, from the home, you have an access to the gvSIG case studies. Here you have the access, and this is the website. You have different categories. From here, you can select different categories by country, by sector, or by software. And the case studies are uploaded in the original language. We decided to do it because we have it was very easy to upload them every every week, every month, a lot of them. And you have a translator, direct translator for the different case studies. And I think they are the main links. Another one is the gvSIG training. There's a gvSIG training platform of the gvSIG Association. At this moment, this is the new website. It has only 1 or 2 weeks. We have to translate it to English in the following days. And here you have the different courses available from the website. And I think they are all the main links about gvSIG. Dardo, if you have any other question?
Mario, there are some questions about scripts. I think Shane could answer.
Yes.
One question is there any repository of scripts? And the other, how could I share my scripts with other people?
Yes, at this moment there is a repository, but we are working on it because we had some problems with the searching in the website that we were creating, and I think in 1 month maybe we will have the repository. Another the possibility is to send us the scripts, and when the repository is available, we can upload them. The user can send me, for example, he can send me the scripts directly to me, or from the website, from the contact section, he can write here, and we can contact him in order to take the scripts.
Okay, Mario, thank you. I have some reminders here. I will switch to my computer, and after that I will ask for your final words. First of all, I would like to thank all the people connected to this webinar. We had almost 200 people, 200 attendees in this webinar. For us, is a good number. We are starting now with the web seminars in English. Thanks Shane and Mario for your presentation, and also Manuel for his support answering the questions by chat. Thanks gvSIG Association and the University of New Hampshire for supporting us in this webinar. And about the reminders, the questions that were not answered will be answered by email after the webinar. The PDF file and also the video will be available in 1 or 2 days in mundogeo.com/webinar, and the certificates of participation will be sent by email next Monday. I would like to invite you to participate in our next events. We have some webinars already scheduled for the next weeks, and also invite you to join Mundo Geo Connect Latin America. This is a conference and trade fair that will be held from May 7 through 9 in São Paulo, Brazil. The website is already available, so you can access the website of the event and find more information about this conference and this trade fair. Well, thank you again, and now I would like to invite Mario and Shane to finish this, to say their final words and to finish this webinar.
Okay, thank you very much to all. Almost 200 people, 200 attendees is it's a lot. And we hope you enjoy this new version. At this moment, some of the functionalities have to be migrated, but in the future it will be the version, the gvSIG version. It will be the better than gvSIG 1. So thank you very much.
And is mine? Okay, I'm open. Yes, thank you very much for joining us. For somebody who's been using and teaching gvSIG for at least a few years, I think that this is a great advancement. I think some of the tools that they've put in for, if nothing else, for speeding up raster display will be very well embraced. But the add-on manager, to me, is a huge addition, and I think, as we've both said, will allow new tools to be added, and as we showed, being able to share symbology between different people will again expand the usefulness of this software. So very happy to be involved, and also very thankful for both Mario and Eduardo and their organizations for the invitation.
Thank you, Mario. Thank you, Shane. Well, I'll see you in the next webinars and also in our presential events. I hope you all have a nice day. Bye-bye.